Hey everybody, welcome to the Bourbon Battalion. This is Bobby. And weird, it's not Wednesday. Yeah, because Wednesday, it never was going to be a permanent thing. It'll come back. It'll have its areas where it'll come and go. And hey, James, glad you get on. Mr. Howson, thanks, Daniel. So tonight we're going to do a three-part series. Originally, I thought it was going to be a two-part series, but now it's going to be like a three-part series. And what we're going to do is we're going to do Texas style. We're going to do a Texas shootout. And mostly because I have never tasted Texas whiskey. Yes, I know. That sounds strange. But being a bourbon guy, neighboring state to Kentucky, most of where I've always been has been just that, just messing around in the battalion area headquarters with my brother, and we've always done the bourbon and different examples of that. And I have dabbled in Scotch. Hey, Mr. Shits, glad you come on. Hey, great live the other day. And so tonight, I thought, what better way to introduce myself into the Texas world than to do a Texas shootout. So we're going to learn some things today. And so to give hey, Sugar Kitty. So, and before I get too into it, I'm going to sit here and just talk with you guys for a little bit. So, yeah, so, it's a weird evolution. I feel like you always got to be advancing your palate or finding out more about your palate. And so have you not tried a Rumble? No, I have not tried a Rumble. If it's from Texas, I have not tried it. So I'll answer that right forward. So yeah, there's a lot of things out there I haven't had, but there's also a lot of things I have had, especially in the bourbon world. Mostly, the Kentucky area, Ohio area, Indiana, this Midwest little region here is pretty synonymous for where most of my palate lies. So for me, it's one of those things that I look at and say, okay, well, I think that it's time to, because you do have natural palate evolution, right? I can remember things that I thought were really good. And I went back to them and I was like, wow, they're kind of lackluster. They just aren't really there for me. What's up, Richie Z, James, Daniel, Mr. Shits? Yeah, I think I got most of you guys already. So I got some samples, and I got a bunch of Texas samples. So this week is going to be Balcones. I have 4 different Balcones that I'm going to fight against each other. I have not had any of them. I don't know really anything about them other than what I've been told by the person that sent it to me, and then spending a little bit of time talking to Matt from the Whiskey Crusaders. So from what I understand, this is probably the cream of the crop, and it's really good. So this week is Balcones. Next week will be IronRoot. And the week after that will be one of the other ones I have. I think, what do I have back here? It's escaping me right now. Garrison Brothers. Sorry, it's Garrison Brothers. So I have samples. I have some bottles. It sounds silly, but I do have 2 bottles of Garrison Brothers. What's up, Cheech? But I've never cracked them because I've always been so busy trying other things with my brother and all this. We just never got around to it. So, and that may sound crazy, but together we have a lot of bottles, and so sometimes we'll get a bunch. Maybe we grab like 4 or 5 at the store, and we don't just open them all right then. So we just try to pick out which ones we want to try, and then sometimes they get forgotten in the mix. So tonight, I will tell you the contenders, right? So of the ones I'm having tonight, and these are blind, they've already been mixed up. I have no idea which one's which that I'm going to try. So the first one here I'm looking at is Balcones Single Malt Single Barrel, 64.3%. And I believe after talking to him, that's American Oak. The other one, I have a Balcones Grand Cru, whiskey aged in St. Arnold Grand Cru barrels at 62% alcohol. So that's 124. I also have the Balcones single malt High Plains European oak at 65.5%. And last not least, I have the Balcones rye single barrel rye cash strength at 64.3. So 128.6. So those are the contenders tonight. I have never had them. I don't know anything about them. I'm just going to taste, see what I like about them, what I don't like about them. What's up, Mike? And just going to go through and figure out, of these four, which one I'm going to rank them and which one's going to be the one that moves on in my Texas shootout. Now, from what I've understood, most of these guys would win a lot of shootouts, but fortunately, I've been blessed with a gentleman that hooked me up. He's in the chat, and so I appreciate you. You know I do. So without further ado, I'm going to start with A. So, like I said, I don't know which one it is. It's got beautiful color. I love the color. I have no idea how long they're aged, but that's a lot of color to not have some age to it. And I always do. I always go through. I am super boring when it comes to this because I so geek out over trying to figure out what kind of viscosity I'm going to have. That sounds damn good, Cheech. And the nose on this is really nice. Viscosity, that's kind of breaking up. The nose tells me it's going to have a great profile, but I don't know that it's going to have a huge long finish. It might have a really pleasant tasting finish, but I don't think it's going to have a long coater. I don't see what I would expect from the legs to be a coater, but I could be wrong. Mike Stahl just about ran a red, white, red. I have completely done that, Mike. I have just blown through and didn't even know. I wasn't even watching anything. I just happened to notice I was daydreaming. Next thing I know, it was a light I just went through. So be careful. And it's got some really nice notes to it. I'm just trying to pick them out right now, what it is. I have like baseball glove leather. Not to say I don't like baseball glove leather, because if you ever played baseball, you chewed on those glove strings. And it smells like it's got like a pretty good malted. There's got to be a pretty good malted barley in this, because I definitely get that that weird cocoa note. Not tons of it though. So yeah, but yeah, so also, hey, some of you may know and may not know, if you look at the banner, I do have a Patreon and I do have a person. So cool things in the Patreon, merch is in there, cool meetups, different stuff like that. So if you're ever interested, check it out. I try to do plenty of one-on-one time, individual calls, sit by the fire, do a smoking joke, just sitting around drinking, smoking, talking about our favorite whiskeys, bourbons, what we might have to exchange, how we can swap stuff back and forth. And if you're happy with it, and I know the channel's evolving all that stuff, I did throw a Venmo in there. Everything goes straight to this. I actually have a job in real life that pays for all my real life things. And right now, my real life job budget is paying for all of this. So any support is appreciated. I appreciate it, guys. I get this weird, somewhere between baseball glove leather and cherry, like someone used cherry saddle soap or something. kind of reminds me a little bit of what I would expect with a kind of like a younger kind of Scotch type of thing. Because I think it probably because I'm very novice in the Scotch world, but I know that a lot of malt stuff I kind of relate to Scotch. So I feel like that's why I'm getting such a malty note on this. So let's go to the palate on this guy. Wow. Man, is that mouth feels. Which I love. Man, is that good. Holy crud. That is definitely a significant proof. Granted, most of them were, but that's up there. I'm going to say that's in the, I'm going to say 121. Because that had huge mouthfeels right away. Right away. There's this weird sweet note that I can't quite put my finger on right now, but I still do get a bunch of that. Oh man, I'll tell you, this is really good. But I think that's the thing that's important about going into stuff. One, I'm a high proof guy anyway, and I love mouthfeel. I love palate exploration. I love the beginning, mid, back, finish, the gums. I like the whole thing. I want something that isn't just okay. Sometimes I do. If I want to just sit around and, have a cigar and I don't really want to think too much about it, everybody knows like my go-to just sipper, because it's really easy to find and it's always good, is Elijah Craig 94 small batch. Is it my favorite? No, it's just rock solid for what it is. Now this had I think more lingering finish than I thought it would. Now see, it's starting to open up now. That's kind of why I try to take my time. I am getting some really nice, some brown sugar notes for sure. Maybe a little citrus, not tons. There are some citrus in there. I think more of like zesty citrus. I also have some, there's something else there I'm catching. It's kind of not so much like a medicinal, but there's definitely I'll give it a second and think about it. So far, that's pretty damn good. I like it a lot, for sure. But I'm looking at the other ones and I'm like, they're all looking at me like, you haven't got to me, fine sir. And I'm like, oh, but I will. I will get to you. I'm so confused by this one though. I mean, it definitely has. And I will say this ahead of time. I have no idea the mash bills of these at all. I didn't look anything up. The only thing I know is what's on the labels and what Daniel and Matt told me. So that's all I know. But I know the thing that when I go through and I have like a big mouthfeel, it's not always proof, right? Usually a big mouthfeel to me is rye. And when I start getting citrus notes, there's got to be rye in this. And that's got to be that malted barley. It's got to be that malted barley that I'm picking up here. It's really sweet and pleasant on the tongue. As this guy opens up and you're acclimating more and more to it, it is getting really, really good. Really good. I'm not against moving to Texas. I mean, it's kind of like big Ohio, right? So I'm going to leave a little bit in there to come back to. So what I pulled off that originally, that it had, it started off with like some baseball glove leather, with some cherries. It kind of opened up a little bit on the palate. It came in really hot, big explosion, lots of mouthfeels, which were really a proof. I thought it was around 121 proof. And then I also felt like as it came across that the rye, there was big rye flavors that I'm expecting when I get like citrus notes and the big explosion in the mid palate. Usually with wheaters and that stuff, I kind of get more of like a malt chocolate or something like that. That's really smooth, like a milk chocolate. I don't really pull big spices at all from the wheaters. So that gave me the hint that there's got to be a rye mash bill in this guy. It's opened up. It started coming to like this weird brown sugar citrus. Isn't that the truth? So yeah, so I'll come back to that, but right now, that's a contender. So for you guys in here, what are your favorite Texas whiskeys? Chat up for a little bit because I got to give some relief in between palate, because if I don't, it won't be pretty later. So once I go through and taste all these and put down my notes on them, what I think of them, I'll go through and I'll rank them. I'll reintroduce it. I'll rank them, come through and say what I thought was what. And then once I come through with my rankings, whatever one will go against the winner of the next 2 weeks. So I think I'm ready to move on to the next one. Like I said, I have no idea what these are. I'm truly blind. I'm not double blind, but I'm not looking over there either. I just want notes. Now this is a little tamer. Whatever this is a little bit smoother on the nose. More of like maybe like a little bit smoother. You get like apricots, like dried apricots. This has unbelievable viscosity as far as the legs go on it. They're just stuck there and slowly coming down. So I'm excited about the finish on this guy, right? And I love a finish. Good finishing whiskeys and bourbons are fantastic cigar whiskey and bourbons. At least for me, I like that long finish to be there so that when I'm hitting my cigar, it takes my cigar a little bit longer to get ashy because it's still intertwining with my wrapper and my finish. So I like a big finishing drink. So wow. That's really good, but different. I don't think the proof's as high. It's a little bit lower proof. Or at least it's either lower proof or just really damn good and sweet. I'll tell you what, there's a small group of people in here that they're gonna change me. I'm gonna have to go from like the bourbon battalion to the freaking whiskey warrior or something. They already got me trying scotches and stuff. And surprisingly, I'm liking them. But I think that's part of the palate evolution, right? You go through and you're trying stuff and you're like, the hell? Why did I? Because I was talking to Matt today, and I also said this to Daniel earlier, is that, when you go through, I can remember when I first came into this, I had some staples that I thought were delicious, that, they were good to go. I could always go back to them and they were really good. And early on in my videos, if anybody knows me, I've always been a Beam fan and the Beam products, but I've also been an Evan Williams fan. But I went through a couple Fridays ago and I did an Evan Williams lineup on Instagram. And I was like, wow, I remember these being things that I really enjoyed. And now I look at them and I'm like, I can really do without them. I wasn't saying they weren't good. They're just not for me now. I was utterly surprised. So I've been trying to go back and revisit some of the things that I used to really like. And now I'm kind of like, So that's the weird thing about palate evolution. So, you always need to be challenging your palate. I get this weird turpentine smell in this. I know that's what it is, because for me, that's a very turpentine smell. Yeah, I'm doing the cast strength in this. I know I haven't got to a cast strength rye. I drink cast strength ryes like crazy. So, I mean, rye is rye. I have a hard time believing that I'm not going to be able to figure out which one's the rye. If so, then, hey, I need to start spending more time practicing. Now that kicked in, man. That kicked in quite a bit. Yeah, that proof might not be that low. It might be right there in that 120 range. I'm going to say that one's like maybe like 120. But yeah, you get this, there's like some weird, on the finish, I'm getting this weird, like a blood orange, so not your typical blood orange, right? Kind of like a sharp, zesty blood orange. Definitely picking out the malt, the things that make me in my head say Scotchy notes. But my Scotchy notes is just because I don't know enough about Scotch. So let's be real. The Balcones pot still bourbon. So I'm going to have to go start checking out some of my different stuff at the liquor stores around me and see what I can find. Because I'm getting really intrigued by this stuff. Because both of these are really good. I would enjoy these. The problem is I would enjoy them so much that I would get very slurry. And my wife would be like, "You're slurry." And I was like, you think? That happens. Yeah, that's pretty good. That's really good. So it came in really smooth. I was really surprised. Now later it kind of spiced back up. I don't have any wheat indications at all in either of the first two. I definitely have the malt though. I'd love to know the mash bills on these. And I'll find them out. Or I can get someone to find it out for me eventually, like Daniel. And so, but yeah, the malt seems like it's definitely higher than what I would say is 6%, probably somewhere in the 8 to 10, maybe. The rye is present because every one of these so far I have had a big mouthfeel that was really spicy and also had fruit. I've had fruits each time. So those are synonymous for me and my palate. Going for the Russo. So I had it at about 120 proof. So far, I liked A better. So as of right now, A is my number one. So let's go in here and start getting into letter C. Hope everybody had a good day. Hope everybody's doing well. Ooh, that's interesting. That's finished. That's got to be finished. If C is not finished, I give. C's got to be finished. Yeah, that's finished. I love finished whiskeys and bourbons. They're usually my go-to cigar. Right? Anytime I take something out of a cigar, I will go through and be like a finished. Last night, I was out on the deck with the gunny, and we were just sitting out by the fire, and we got some samples, and one of them was really good. I enjoyed it because I could tell right away it was finished. And it was finished in sherry cask. It was the was it Rabbit Hole? Yeah, I think Rabbit Hole Derringer. I think that's right. And it was really nice. It was nice for what it was. I could have used the proof. The proof was good. Don't get me wrong. It's a cask. It's not only cask and sherry, but it's also a cask strength or close to it. It just didn't have big mouthfeels. But that's okay with a smoker. I don't mind that. So hopefully everybody can see me good. It's kind of weird because I had to dim a whole bunch of stuff to get rid of all the glare that was always in my glasses. And so in order to do that, I had to change so many different things because the glare comes not from my lighting. It comes from my screen when I'm looking at it. So, man, that smells so sweet. The nose on this guy is sweet. Whatever C is sweet. It's got great legs. It's got a great finish going on. It's going to be probably the best finish I've had so far. But I also expect that because I think it's finished. So I think it's finished. It's got a big sweet nose. I have real bourbon notes. It definitely has this sweet, like a caramel. There's like a weird caramel in there. It definitely still has malt. It almost smells like if you was to put a little Hershey syrup on something caramel. Not like a Milky Way. It's got to be like Hershey's where it's more cocoa-y. But, those are the things that I get from malted barley and corn. I'm not pulling a heavy fruit on this, but there's no way that they're going to be, I can't imagine any of these being weeders. That just doesn't seem like, none of the mouthfeels have that at all. So right now on the nose, I think it's finished. It's sweet. I have caramel notes and cocoa notes. Great legs. Color on it looks great. I would say it's more of like a deep, it might even be like a blood orange or a dull copper, but that'd be like a really dark copper for that. Sugar Kitty, have you had what is it? There's an M&M popcorn. We call it like crack corn because it's like crack. You're instantly addicted to it. It is the most amazing thing ever. It is so good. It's so good. I can't remember what the name of it is. It's like a caramel corn with M&Ms, and they're like chunked together. So you're like not getting like one, you're getting like chunks of them where they're like mashed together. Ugh. It's like whatever the most addictive thing is. I just told him don't buy it anymore. I don't want to go back to being a big guy. Man, on this right side, this is very, very bourbony. It's like very bourbon to me. On this left side, I get more of the malt. I get like malted. But smooth. This is really smooth on the nose. Easily the smoothest. That's the smoothest drinking so far. Really good though. Exactly what I thought. Big finish. There's like this big finish. Yeah, popcorn, pretzel. There's about everything you can imagine. I wake up in the morning and smell it across. Yeah, that's like one of my. I mean, I could have worse weaknesses, I guess. But man, popcorn, pretzel, M&M, caramel corn, all bunched into one glob. Ugh, forget about it. Whiskey Mountains. Well, that's because we're talking about. It's not very often. You know, usually when I say I get a smooth nose, just means when I'm nosing it, I don't have something that's given a high pitch, like way up in my nasal cavity. I'm like, ow, that's spicy or hot, like a high proof. And this one, I know none of these are low proofs, but at the same token, this one is significantly smoother than the other ones. So this is my introduction into the Texas whiskey world. So, but yeah, this is like cocoa, and if you sprinkled sugar crystals and malt, this is probably the most dessert-like of the three so far. I feel like I could have this with like, now granted, I never would ever have whiskey with ice cream. But if I was going to pair it, I would say like a nice vanilla ice cream. Maybe if I poured it over vanilla ice cream, but then I'd be bloated for like a week. I'll tell you what, Adriana. Hey, did you notice the other day I actually spelled your name and I put the little whoochamajiggy above the A just to let you know that I was saying Adriana and not Adriana. Like, yo, Adrian. So don't be giving me crap on smooth noses. I'm not saying it wouldn't taste good. It's just more of the after effects. You can hear someone's home because my killer wiener dog is up there barking. I say dashing, they say dachshund. I'm just not ready to have that kind of argument, so it's a wiener dog. So the two worst dogs to have when people are around, and at the best time too, I have a dachshund and I have a chihuahua. So it's just like they're ready to fight and terrorize everybody, but you could literally just, a burglar could just kick them and they'd be done. But you'd know they're here. But man, this is, okay, so back to C. My first inclination, it was finished on the nose. I thought it was very smooth. I know it's a higher proof, but it doesn't smell very, it didn't feel high proof. Oh, my dachshund is amazing. It's a, there's a fancy name for the breed it is. It's got these silver flare tip, whatever. But we rescued it. All of our dogs are rescues. So he came in, they called us and let us know that they had a dachshund came in that had been stomped. Its hips and stuff had been broke, that they were going to rehab it, but were we interested in doing it? So we said, yeah. And so all of our dogs are rescues. We have 4, and we have 2 cats that were, one cat was found by my daughter. She had been attacked by a bird, by a hawk in our area, and she shooed it off and saved it. And then it had a cat. It had a litter, and we kept one. So it's like a zoo here. But, they're our zoo. Yeah, so he's a weird dachshund. He's almost like a therapy dog. He is so loving and so kind of not your typical dachshunds, because usually they're really aggressive and protective. He's just a lover. He wants to love everybody, and he wants you to be happy. So this C is absolutely delicious. It doesn't have quite the mouthfeels. I still stand behind the idea that I think this is finished. It does not taste like the others at all. The proof is there. I believe the proof is right in the wheelhouse. That's going to be hard to rank. It's hard to rank. I'm going to say that's 122. I still think I don't know. I'll have to revisit. Right now, I have A as my number 1. C is my number 2, and B is my number 3. That could change. We'll wait till we get back to the back blast. Is he not already? Let me see. Oh, I hate this because I'm in here. How do I do that? Do I have to look at this in YouTube? I'm not sure how to do that. Does anyone in here know how to make someone a wrench when you're in StreamYard? I know how to do it on YouTube. I wonder if I can do it up here. Is there a way of doing this? You're live. If I view it on YouTube, what happens? If I blow this broadcast, I apologize. But I don't think I will. I think I should be able to come back. I hope. Let me see. Now I'm still here, so I can see that. So let me see here. Continue to YouTube. Wonder if I can come back if I do. Let me try. See what happens. So let me see here. Continue. That's weird. So to YouTube. Wonder if I can come back if I do. Let me try. See what happens. So let's see here. Continue. That's weird. So to YouTube. Wonder if I can come back if I do. Try. See what happens. Continue. That's weird. So to YouTube. Where is he? It's like in a serious loop. Okay, let's go back to StreamYard. That's some weird stuff. Hold on. Get rid of that. Huh. So, am I back? I'm trying to see if I'm on a delay or something. Let's go to new comments. Okay, so I think I'm back. I think there's like a weird delay now. So, it is strange. I'm trying to watch YouTube at the same time to see if I'm good or not. So yeah, it's really strange. So you can look back over to YouTube, but when you do, because I'm watching both to see what's happening, and there's like this delay that it wasn't happening before. So in the future, I will take care of that. Let me see, is this current over here? It's live. Yeah, so my live feed is different now. So when he comes back in, if I can, I will. Without a doubt, I have no problem doing that at all. So everybody, all good. Perfect. I'm going to try not to look at YouTube, because if I do, then I'm going to be in this weird loop of seeing myself, because it did cause a delay from what I'm seeing to what is actually going on in YouTube. So I'm going to move to D. Or I should say number 4. Everybody gets their chuckle when you say, oh, hey, going to get. Yeah, I'm not doing that. So of the 4, I think this looks the oldest. Your phone. Yeah, it's one of those things that hey, it is what it is. Ooh, hold. That's the rye. It smells like freaking oatmeal. And I don't mean that as a bad thing. I love oatmeal. I can't explain why. No good reason. Some grand sommelier would say, you're an idiot. That's okay. I'm perfectly happy being an idiot, but I know my damn palate, so F off. That is without a doubt the rye. There's just no getting away from it. For whatever reason, for me, I get this grain. I get this weird grainy that reminds me of growing up as a kid, eating fresh oatmeal, and it always is that to me. For whatever reason, I always pull this weird grainy on the nose. So I haven't went to the palate yet, but my inclination is this is the rye. It has to be. It's exactly what it smells like. If I opened up a box of Quaker Oats and didn't even heat them up or nothing, that's what it smells like. Sugar Kitty, you are correct. I have 2 cats, and every time I walk by, they hiss at me. And when I walk past them, they meow because they want me to come back, but they hiss when I come up to them until I pet them, and then they're nice. So cats are weird characters. They definitely pee on stuff, that's for sure. They don't anymore, but they did when they were young. So, yeah, this is the rye. Smells delicious, though. Rye. This would be Adriana's very favorite one. It's the rye. And she's now becoming a rye girl. She's transitioning over. She's evolving. Oh, man. But I will say though, for a rye, this is delicious. This is really good, and I love ryes, just like Adriana. You just wait one of these times, Adriana. You're gonna go through and you're gonna be like, you're gonna pick it in a blind, and then you're gonna be like, oh no, and I'm gonna be like, so, man, it's just this one's really good though, Mr. Whiskey Utah. It is very good. You know, I will say that. Um, you know, I haven't yet. I think it's because for whatever reason, Richie, I always get oatmeal and I can't get it off my brain for a little bit. So I kind of have to go away and come back to it. I'm not saying that there isn't like a cocoa note in there, but there's definitely not to me what I would say when I think of chocolate, right? Adriana, I can tell you this. The reason why I think you would like this is it doesn't have some of the flavor profiles that you hate. However, there are some other ones in here that you might have that you don't really care for either. Basically, what you have to do is give her a glass of something and say that it's like Knob Creek 12. And make sure she drank a lot earlier in the day so she didn't know any better. Yeah, I definitely get the cocoa. I would say it's teetering probably closer to chocolate than most other things I have, but it's all on the back of the palate. It's back in the finish. It's nowhere in the front or mid palate, but it's definitely coming. It's in the very back of my palate. I'm starting to get the remnants of some dark chocolate, more like like if you had a really dark 86% cocoa from Ghirardelli, since you're out there. And Richie Z, I'm going to be in San Jose next week. I'm just saying, I fly in Sunday. Just saying. For all you California people, I'm going to be in California out in San Jose next week. I'll be out there for work, but hey, I have some freedoms. Geez, really good wild blackberries are where it's at. The only thing I like better than blackberries are blueberries. But it's close. If they're good and they're fresh, I like them. Yeah, this is definitely though the. Do you know the way to San Jose? I do. There's chocolate rye and the rye mash bill, and it definitely shows up. Yeah, it does. It does on the finish. It definitely does on the finish. But I think you have to give it a second. I didn't notice it at first. Oh, blueberries, please. I eat blueberries every day. I think the more, Daniel and Richie, I think the more that this opens up, the more that chocolate starts coming into play. It wasn't there in the beginning. And I was a previous ginormous guy that ate enough chocolate to know what chocolate tastes like. But this right here, this is it's turned into a really nice, like if I had a Quaker Oats mixed with Cocoa Pebbles or Cocoa Puffs or whatever those little cocoa things are. Somewhere in there, I put some kind of chocolate something in my oatmeal. But I think that's the thing that's important, right? Everybody has flavor profiles and things like that they pull from. And a lot of times we pull from stuff from our youth. And for me, I definitely do. Those are the things that I had when I was a young kid. You had oatmeal, and usually it was Quaker, and it was on there. And a lot of times we had pancake syrup. There's been plenty of times I talk about pancake syrup, and I don't talk necessarily about maple syrup. Maple syrup's expensive. When we were kids, it was really expensive. But when you go through and have pancake syrup, basically it's like butter and brown sugar and a cast iron skillet, and you just melt it until it gets really syrupy, and that's what you use for pancakes. So that's what I mean by those. So Daniel said, Bourbon Italian, oh, you're right. The 100 proof version is more chocolate than the cask strength. It's still there. I mean, it's still very prevalent. There's no doubt about it. It's very good. It's probably up there as one of, well, I assume it's a rye. I'll come back to it and find out for sure, but I'm 99.99999. Actually, I'm 100% sure it's rye. So it's a rye. It's got a great proof. Proof is good. Mid 120s. I'm going to say 123. I got cocoa, oatmeal, like I can hear one of my dogs upstairs like growling because I'm down here not loving on it. Pancake syrupy. Has a dynamic finish. Man, the finish on it is fantastic. Great finish. It is a lingering, long finish for a rye. You know what? I could arguably say that might be, eventually I'm going to do a rye fight with my favorite ryes. This is now in the running as one of my favorite ryes. I'd love to fight it against my Wild Turkey Rare Breed Barrel Proof Rye and my Michter's Limited Reese Barrel Strength Toasted. And even Adriana would like that one. She thinks she wouldn't, but she would. I'll send it to her as like a Knob Creek, and she'll think it's delicious. Actually, she'll say it's rye and spit it out, and I'll be like, don't spit it out. It's really good shit. All right, so as of right now, on the first run through, I still have A as my number one. My number two is still C. My number three is now the rye. And number four is B. So I'm going to go back through them. That doesn't mean I'm right. It just means that's what it was the first time. So I think I left just enough to do about 2 tastes of each. Man, that just smells freaking delicious. It smells like if you took like a really, really good bourbon and mixed it with a really, really good scotch. You already made me start thinking of what did the one rye say to the other rye? And I don't even know the answer yet, but it made me laugh. So now I don't remember having, oh yeah, you know what? I did have that. The notes haven't changed. They've just gotten more prevalent. There's definitely like a big malted brown sugar note. And there's this weird, oh man, I still can't put it on there. I don't want to give like a wrong impression. If you've ever had, so when I say like the aroma, right, the fumes that are coming off this drink back up through my nose, navel cavity, whatever you want to call it, reminds me of fresh tar. Like if you had somebody just come through and seal coat your driveway, or fresh tar on a roof. There's this weird, aromatic, but pleasant tar smell. That sounds terrible, but it's really nice. But it's sweet. I mean, there's a good sweetness to it. There's just a smidge of citrus to it, but not a ton. Now, that is absolute RVA whiskey. You are not wrong. I love me some Knob Creek, and Adriana knows that. But man, I'll tell you what, there ain't nothing more irritating than the freaking wax. They could take some examples from whatever Evan Williams did to their wax, because that shit never cracks and breaks. Richie, the Michter's Toasted Barrel Rye doesn't even taste like a rye. From what I remember, it's delicious. It has the notes of it, right? But it is really delicious. There's no doubt about it. But I'll tell you what, I did just a pairing. Me and one of the guys from my bourbon group. We sat down and we had the Michter's Toasted Barrel Rye against the Wild Turkey Barrel Proof Rare Breed Rye. They were both really damn good, but a little bit different. You know, the one was toasted, right? So it's going to have a little bit more of that toasted marshmallowy, campfire-y type of thought when you have that graham crackery. So it was really, really good. But man, I'll tell you what, if you haven't had the Wild Turkey Rare Breed Barrel Proof Rye, you need to. It's really good. I'd have a hard time believing. Now this right here, I'll tell you what, this rye, I'll give it a run. If my number 4 is a rye, or if the letter D is a rye, it's in the running. But I know it's a rye. A is still really delicious. I think I figured out the thing that I like about it is it has that weird tar note. There's like this weird tar note to it. And I think that's what I'm pulling off. So as of right now, it's still my number 1. On to letter B for the second time. Yeah, it's still really smooth. Has some sweet notes. Has some interesting fruit notes. What's up, the Roop? Happy Wednesday, brother. Glad you could make it out. Detroit Tigers. What the hell? Swear to God. I still love you, but the Tigers? You know I'm an Indians fan, right? Well, I kind of was. I don't watch any sports now, so does that mean I'm not a fan anymore? I haven't watched any sports in a year, so I didn't even watch the Super Bowl. I think instead of doing Super Bowls, we should have like we as a YouTube community should have some kind of playoffs. We should have a whiskey playoffs, and just who cares about sports? Which I don't think anybody in my family ever thought I'd ever say that. Oh man, I'll tell you what, you guys are killing me. All right, so let's finish this guy. I think B is really pleasant. B is really pleasant. It's really good. What's up, Big League Bourbon? Chris, we were just talking baseball a second ago. Freaking Roop likes the Tigers. Good grief. I think B is very pleasant. I think that B is a good, typical bourbon wort. Absolutely, Cheech. If you have not subscribed to Livewire Whiskey, which is Mr. Shits and Mike Stahl, do so. Great show. A lot of fun. I look forward to it. We just need to come up with a really good platform to where we can all know when everybody's on. I mean, I already don't have tons of a life, so I might as well have less one. I just can't drink the whole time because I did that like the first 3 months I was in the tubes and all that stuff. And yeah, I was just I felt like I was on a 3-month bender. All right. So I think if you're a person that's not, if you're a bourbon person, so I think I'll be honest with you. So Adriana, whatever my letter B comes out being, I think you would like it. Being truthfully honest, I think it would be one of those of the ones I have. I think it's something you'd really like. I thought it opened up into a really nice, a sweet character that was really fulfilling as far as proof wise. It had a good finish. It didn't have tons of mouthfeel, so it wasn't like blowing up like the things that a rye would bring and that stuff. But it was really, really good. Someone that was trying to jump into the Texas market right away. Now, granted, I'm sure that it's going to be something that's not easy to find, and it's kind of hard because, from what I understand, all of these are pretty damn good and special. And quite honestly, they're all really good. I'm just saying on my palate, B to me would be the easiest drinking, smoothest, but that doesn't mean it means that it's the one I find that I like the best. I would say B was the closest of all of these to what I would consider Knob 12. Oh, it's without a doubt. Every one of these Balcones, yes, every one of these are delicious. Daniel asks, is it safe to say that I'm now a Balcones fan? I am. These 4 I am. I haven't had the other ones. I'm sure that there's a knockdown, not great version of one, but I'll try it and find out. I'm going to go buy some Balcones at the store. I'll call you first, make sure I'm not buying something, because we have a very similar palate. So on to letter C. Letter C is so far my number 2. I thought it was finished. I thought it was sweet. It had some cocoa notes. It was the one that was the most bourbon. I thought it was around 122 proof. And I still think that. I think it's really, really nice. I think it's a little bit more mouthfeels than B was. I still feel like it's finished. I feel like that you get that finishing note when you get a finished one, whether it's a port or a sherry or any kind of finished barrel. It gives this weird thing to me. What's up, John T? Cheers, brother. Glad you could jump on. I appreciate you guys. I think the thing, right? You come in and it's just interesting that you have all the ones finished gives a weird finish. That's usually quite pleasant if you're into that. You know, when I think of that, I almost always think of cigars. And if you don't know, most everybody in the chat is probably familiar with this, but if you're not and you're bored and you decide, hey, I'm going to go in there and watch this on your own sometime, and someone's catching this later, make sure that when you're going through and you're nosing something, when you're nosing a glass, come in below you, get the aromas, get your nose figured out, don't blast your nose right away. But you also want to go on one side, the other side, and both, right? You're going to get different ones. Jen Blackledge, cheers. Hope you're feeling better. So the nose I get on the right side is more of a fruity smell, and the left side is sweeter. It's more of like what I would think of in the sweeter bourbon side, and this one's more of like a rye side. So it's like the second part of the mash bill of this guy's rye. Full on, I get the malt. I get the barley. I get that malted barley because it has this weird Scotch note to me, even though that may not make sense to anybody, but it does to me. but it's really nice. It's just not A. I could drink all of these every day. Every day. Every one of these have been very good, but very different. None of them have been the same to me. So far, A, B, and C are still ranked exactly the way that I thought they were to me originally. The legs on this one is amazing, which is crazy because I know this is the rye. If you have ever, I can tell you right now, if you have ever once ever in your life ever made your own oatmeal, taken oatmeal and you heated it up and you did all that stuff, not the instant oatmeal, like good old Quaker Oats or whatever. And you first open it up and you're like, hey, oatmeal. Oatmeal. Definitely oatmeal. This oatmeal just happens to have some Count Chocula in it or Cocoa Pebbles or whatever. Yeah, this is just, it's still really delicious. Oh yeah, and the finish. The back end of this guy is chocolate. I mean, it's definitely, it's a high cocoa. It's a high cocoa. It's softened a little. It's not like an 86% cocoa Ghirardelli. It's turned into more of not quite milk chocolate, but it's still a high cocoa content. You have hopes for what you want it to win, but we'll see. You know, and that's the thing, right? It's so malto meal. I forgot all about malto meal. That's some funny shit there, Big League Bourbon. All right. It's time for the reveal. I'm kind of nervous because I heard big things about a bunch of these. And I'm like, but you know, it's all about your palate, right? It's why do you like what you like? And so yeah, it's really exciting. I made the mistake of looking at YouTube. The delay is there, and I'm like, there's a delay. So, all right. So let's start with my number 4. My number 4 was B. Okay, so this was my B, and it's this guy. So which one of these is that guy? Okay, my number 4 was the Balcones Single Malt High Plains European Oak at 125.5. And I had it at 121. So, or that would be, well, 1. Yeah, that's actually a high proof. That's really high proof. So my number 4 is the High Plains. So this was my number 4. I don't know if you can see this. This is the High Plains Balcones. All right. My number 3, or my letter D was this guy. So American flag. I'm just going to go ahead and look for the rye. American flag. Yeah, it's the rye. So my number 3 was the Balcones Rye Single Barrel Rye at 64.3. So that's 128.6 proof. So now, having said that, that is a damn good rye. It is delicious. I highly recommend it. I highly recommend all these. They were very good. Very good. But I knew that was a rye. There's no way it wasn't. So this is the rye. I put that number 3. Okay. So Do I go to number 2 or do I go to number 1? We'll go to number 2. So letter C was my number 2. You guys are getting me nervous because I know everybody wants the Grand Cru to win, and I'm like, I don't know. I hope so. I feel like my number 2, and I'm just guessing. I haven't looked yet. I feel like my number 2 is going to be the Grand Cru. And I think that because I think when you think of the Grand Cru barrel, it's finished. I may be wrong, but I thought it was finished. So we're looking at this guy, and this is the Statue of Liberty. Okay, so let's go over here to the Grand Cru. Oh. What? I'm just double checking, make sure I'm not like losing my mind here. So my number 3 was number 2. Huh? So my number 2 was the Balcones single malt single barrel 128.6. Therefore, my number 1 was the Grand Cru. I was totally fooled by it. I thought, now listen, this Balcones single malt single barrel oak, I think it's American oak, is mother humping delicious. It's really good. It's really good. I'm really surprised. But the Grand Cru is just freaking dope. It's really good. The Grand Cru was the winner. So Grand Cru won. And number 2 was the American Oak. Single barrel. That's crazy. I hadn't. Sorry, I'm just sitting there reading some of the comments. I was sitting there. So overall, my number 1 was the Balcones Grand Cru St. Arnold Grand Cru barrels at 122. The Balcones single barrel single malt American Oak was number 2. The Balcones Rye single barrel strength at 128.6 was number 3. And the Balcones single malt High Plains European Oak at 130.1. And I put that as the smoothest. I thought it was really smooth. There ain't no doubt about it. I thought it was just really smooth. So, blind battle with Whiskey Mountains. Oh, good Lord. Hold on. Sedana's like, the Grand Cru limited edition finished in St. Arnold Grand Cru barrels 1. I can get the 55% version. Hold on. Everything moved fast for you. But the cash strength is long gone. Okay. I'm good with that. That's still 110. So, yeah, please do. We'll talk. You know how to get a hold of me. So, having said that, I'm not done drinking. Now it's time to just sit around and drink and do dumb stuff. So what do we got? It's 8:45. We got like 15 minutes before the mash and drum goes on, right? That's 15 minutes. If anybody wants to jump in, jump on the live, talk trash. Mr. Shits, you can talk trash about Adriana, but you got to say Adriana. And then you got to, if you're going to talk shit to Adriana, you better be able to say her whole name. Her whole name. Because let me tell you, it's significant. You're going to have to do some practicing. I remember part of her whole name. But if anybody wants to jump on, I think it's in the at the very top of the feed. There's a link in there if you want to jump on and talk for a little bit. I am going to finish drinking a couple other things I had. I'm going to save some of these samples. The Gunny wasn't able to make it down. Yeah, it's Adriana. Adriana. But look, I even got my R to roll. I've been practicing. It's funny. I don't know how long I messed around on the freaking iPhone to figure out how to put the little accent above the A when I sent her a message. But I did. I got it. And you know what? And she didn't even say anything back. What the hell? Nice. Eventually I will do. Listen, as some of this stuff gets bigger and all that stuff, and I can go through and do that stuff, I am definitely not at all against doing bottle giveaways. For all of you, for any of you guys that happen to somewhere in the world jump over onto the Instagram side, Tiffany the Bourbon Bell is doing a really, really good fundraiser for veteran suicide. She's a vet. I'm a vet. And let me tell you, the fundraiser is going to have some dope stuff in there. Instagram is, it's a big world, but it's a different world. Yeah, Big League Bourbon, you are not wrong. I'm saving these because I know that I have a cigar and a fire tonight. And I'm going to be sitting around the fire with one of these. And then eventually, I guess I got to share. A military veteran, Mr. Mike Stahl. But, you know, so it's a really good cause. I know that I'm donating a bottle for her. We're debating on what it is. I'm pretty sure that I'm going to probably be donating either an E.H. Taylor single barrel or somewhere in the Buffalo Trace world, because that's what a bunch of put. What's up, Will Henderson, Mr. Hendo? Will Henderson, you need to somehow set up a fight between myself and the Bourbon Wrench. I think me and the Bourbon Wrench need to tangle. He's a wonderful human, but a nasty army puke. And I mean that in the most endearing fashion possibly. I can talk trash about my brothers. He's just like the illegitimate other brother. But I am glad you jumped on here. Thanks for jumping on. So what I'm trying right now is another one of Adriana's favorite. So in Ohio, Smooth Ambler, who's out of West Virginia, just dropped their Old Scout. They just put in Old Scout barrel strength rye store pick. It just dropped in Ohio, and it dropped big. There's a lot of it. It is really, really good. The legs on it are amazing. The profile's amazing. I'm going to go out tomorrow, probably go out and see if I can find some. If anybody's interested, hit me on my message, whether it be Bourbon Battalion at Gmail or whatever reason. You know, I think there's a couple different platforms you can hit me on. I'm on Instagram at Bourbon Battalion. I'm on YouTube at Vermintide. All of them, you have a link somewhere to get a hold of me. If you're interested, let me know. Yeah, it's really good. I mean, it's really good. We poured it last night, and I capped it to let it breathe overnight. Man, let it breathe overnight. Let it breathe overnight. It is amazing. It's good off the neck, but man, does it open up to quite a bit better. And the other thing I have over here that I've been neglecting, a couple of days ago, I had someone come in and was helping do some filming for me. So I'm in the process of getting some stuff done. I'm not going to say I'm not tech savvy. I'm not editing savvy. So I have someone working on putting together my opening credits, my opening videos, and all that stuff. And one of the things I had to do is I had to, do some smoking, because everybody knows I smoke. I probably don't do enough of it on the tubes, but I do a lot of it for people personally. So one of the things is that I have this glass that's been sitting here for a couple of days, just smoke, just nothing but smoke. And I cherry wood smoked Blanton's Gold. That's pretty fun good. Actually, it's really good. So you can do some really cool things with smoke to completely change a mediocre to average drinker, or just a good drinker, and make it better. So that's what I did. And that's going to be what I drink with my cigar later. And then I'm going to go to one of these Balcones. Daniel H., I definitely need Balcones. I'm going to designate an area to it. So real quick, we're at 8 minutes. I haven't seen anybody want to jump on. So a couple of things that I know that are coming up besides this Texas shootout, right? This week was Balcones. Next week's IronRoot. The week after that is the one I said earlier that I can never remember for whatever, Garrison Brothers. After I do that, then I'm going to do a battalion hump day. Since it's Wednesday, it's hump day anyway, and battalion hump is the long haul. You're doing a long march. We're going to go through, and the very first battalion hump series I'm going to do is collections. So probably, I wouldn't say it's my biggest collection, but it's right in there, is Bookers. What's up, Trev? You know what? He heard me. Trev heard me through the Vet World universe. I'm telling you what, Trev, we need to do an Army Marine Corps showdown. That's what I'm saying. But so after I do the Texas shootout, I'm going to go through Bookers. I'm going to go through my Bookers, and I knew you did. I knew you did. And I want to go through this big. I have, I think, 12 Bookers that are my seconds that I'm going to crack new. And for anybody that is in there, for as much as I can, what I'm going to do is I'm going to crack and I'm going to review them, and I'm going to do them in segments from oldest to newest, and try to fight them and go through and figure out which are my favorites and which are where to stand, because I love Bookers. And any one of them I crack, if anybody wants a sample that's in the chats and all that stuff, we'll talk it out and figure some of that stuff out. An all branch showdown. Well, come on now. There's only a couple branches that matter. No, every branch matters. So I will say this first and foremost. Anybody that knows me knows there's one absolute truth. We are the best at what we do in the world from a United States military standpoint, because every one of us, every branch is absolutely the best at what they do, but not every branch does the exact same thing. So I am 100% behind every one of my military brethren and sisters. We all do something different. However, The Navy always would disagree. Are you kidding me? Of course. They're the freaking Uber drivers. Now, having said that, I can't do anything without their naval gunfire pounding the beach first. But so my family is represented by every branch, even the Coast Guard. But yeah, Trev knows it is what it is, right? We can talk trash all day long about each other, but it's only because it's brotherly love, right? Brotherly and sisterly love. Listen, I have some military vet ladies that I was friends with that could talk some mad smack, and it was so fun. And I'll never forget it. We were doing a battalion run, and we had this guy calling a cadence that was really a crude, raunchy, I could never repeat it on any channel ever cadence. And they came out and said, well, it's blue. Will, it's blue because it tastes the most blueberry-ish. And you go through, and the thing that was really funny is they said, okay, we need a good cadence. So they called out Corporal Kleina, which is this really, really, really gung-ho WM, which is a woman Marine. And she came out and she threw down a cadence like so much worse. And it was like, and our captain just looked at us like, I was like, you know what? You guys brainwashed us into being like this. So get over it. So, but yeah, for anybody that's ever served, thank you for your service. It's, you signed on the line with no expectation to survive, but you did. And if you didn't, you know what? Cheers to the ones that didn't. I think every now and then you'll see pictures every now and then. I know the patrons definitely do. We go through the walls. Every wall in my room is a little bit different. I have an Ode to Marine Corps wall. I have the Gunny's uniform over here, and I have the fallen flags of family members. Now, I don't have everybody's, but I have a couple. I have one representing my family and one representing my wife's family. She has a military family as well. And you're welcome. Will, I am not only happy to have served, I'm proud to have served. And if I was called today, I would serve again. And so, I think that's the thing, right? Is that, you have this community of people that, and I swear to the good Lord above, you guys are the best. There's nowhere like the YouTube whiskey world. You can go into the Instagram world and all that stuff, but it's not the same. There's so much more hate and bad stuff over there. You just don't have it here. Everybody here can jab at each other and talk, but it's all in love. And I appreciate it. I enjoy when I want a peace of mind and just relax and enjoy myself. It's here. This is my platform where I can just enjoy the fact that I love what I do. I love watching other people do it. I love trying to say like, wow, someone got that note. I didn't get that note. So I want to go back and say, oh, did I still get it? No, probably because it's not a note that I know. And, and I love the people that are funny. I had a really funny thing the other day. Actually, today I was watching ADHD Whiskey do his review where he did his first 15 minutes. His first 15 minutes, he completely forgot his mic was off. And then he went and recorded it and realized he didn't record it. And on his third take, so he's like sitting there venting. And my wife's like, what are you listening to? And I was like, what do you mean? She's like, why are you laughing about it? What do you mean? This is like super funny. She's like, I don't understand. I said, well, I don't understand the Hallmark Channel. So it is what it is. So I love you guys. I appreciate all of you guys. If there's anything that I can share or help with, or if you ever want to collab or do anything, I'm in. Just count me in. Let me know what you need. I definitely do, though. If Trev's still on here, I definitely want to do a flight fight with Trev, and I want Hendo can set that up or whatever. Anybody in here, thank you for being here. I know that the Mash and Drums going on tonight. He's supporting Wheels. Make sure that you get a chance to jump over there and support him. All of us go through good times and bad times. And if we have the opportunity to help out someone, I think we should. And I hope you learned a little bit more about the Balcones, and look forward to talking to you next Wednesday when we go through the IronRoot. And from what I understand, my IronRoot that I got was just as big as the Balcones. No worries, Trev. Army versus the Marine stream? Absolutely. And you better not be putting on some freaking like, listen, you're a little dude. Don't be putting on like some big gun, like your head on some big strong guy. Because like, I'm pretty sure that you better not put me on. I swear, you know what? We're going to talk, Trev. We're going to talk. So cheers, you guys. I love you all. Make sure that you're good to those that are good to you. Be good to others. And it's really simple. Everybody's nice. Everybody's just waiting for someone to be nice to them. And that's what you guys are. I appreciate you. I'll talk to you next week. Cheers. I'll see you on the Mash and Drum.